No, I'm stuck like I'm touchdown. I can do my dance like a touchdown. Yo, like I'm touchdown. I can do my dance like a touchdown. No, I'm stuck like I'm touchdown. I can do my dance like a touchdown. Yo, like I'm touchdown.
Oh my golly gosh! You've made it for another Saturday. Now, what camera am I on? I don't know. We're going for a kind of a weird setup today. I've got myself a new mixer because last week I ended up being on the laptop audio, which was okay. It's okay, but you know, I've got a lovely little microphone. So, anyway, how you all doing? If you are back from the Friday feeling, you're still hyped up, and you want that bit more, then the Saturday Night Live is the show that you need to see. Once again, we've got David and Deborah in the house. We will be finishing off the Stingy V2 Build. This week we won't be going into the beta flight. That'll probably be next week, maybe, I'm not sure. We'll speak to David in a moment and see what he wants to do. But we've got a special thing. Now, David has waited all week for this. We've got a DJI unboxing. Now, I do know what it is. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I didn't tell you what it is. But we'll do that after the Stingy build. So what David's done is that he's recorded the rest of the build. We're going to play it quick time. And we'll just get this up. Wait, so we're all working. There you go. Hi, Shadow. How you doing, buddy? Who else is here as well? We've got EQ. Famous people from across the pond. Thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully more people will be coming running in, so we won't go too fast. Obviously we'll have a chat with David and Deborah first. But yes, so he did start recording what he was doing. Why he was making it, how he was making it, should I say? Which is about 25 minutes long. Now we've squished that into 10 minutes. It's not mega fast. But David's going to do the voiceover for it because obviously we wanted enough time for the DJI product and to both of us to have a say, and also Deborah to have a say and for you to have a say, to you to ask questions. So any questions you want about the Stingy V2, ask away, and also about the DJI product once you know what it is. So without further ado, because I'll just sit here rabbiting on for forever and a day, let's go to Deborah and David. Hi guys, how you doing?
Hello.
Hey Chris, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good, thank you. You guys okay? You had a good week?
Yeah. Great Friday feeling.
Oh,
yesterday.
The Spitfire. I mean, it was. I believe it was the. I kept saying submarine Spitfire. I watched a video
Submarine. Yeah.
on a not video, but sort of YouTube or Netflix or whatever it was, and it was called The Greyhound with Tom Hanks, and about the submarine. So I just had submarine in my head. So Supermarine Spitfire. I believe it was the Supermarine Spitfire's birthday yesterday. 80th birthday, I believe. I'm not sure. Don't hold me to that. But she's a beautiful. As I say, I'm not making it for another 3 weeks probably. I've got another unboxing to do that we'll be making, so I can get the bits and pieces. But yeah. So David, you've been excited. You've had a little DJI thing sitting over somewhere and without being touched.
Yeah, it's somewhere behind me down there, which I'll pick up in a minute.
I like it.
Arrived on. I can't remember whether it was Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday. Yeah, I think it arrived Wednesday.
Yeah, I wasn't sure now when you got all excited about that. I'm not sure, but
no, it was so hard not to rip it apart, and all I did was take the cellophane off just so it didn't rattle tonight. But that's it. I've got the seals to break and taking all that new.
Worst thing, isn't it? About
goodness.
I get. Yeah. This is why I had to open the Spit last night. I cannot wait, like 3 weeks. While it's just sitting there. And sort of the one that I got from the US of A that's come, I haven't opened, and it is so annoying. It's a real tease. So anyway, Deborah, how are you? How's your week? You okay? Obviously, we're still all in lockdown and can't do nothing, but you okay? Oh no, we've lost Deborah. Hi Victor, how you doing? We have lost Deborah. Deborah's got a few issues with her Mac. I'm hoping that.
Hey Victor.
I'm hoping we're not going to lose her. Excuse me. But yeah, that is a shame. She had a few problems with a microphone. In fact, she could be coming back. I've got a little thing in my head to say she's coming back. And hey presto!
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I've got network issues as well.
It's not. You're being a diva, aren't you? It's a bit like when they talk to the mic and they drop the mic. It's Deborah just like cuts you off. Cut. Anyway, Deborah. So we were saying. So a couple of more people running into the room. Yeah, as I say, Deborah was just saying that we got this DJI product. So hopefully you're going to give your insights. We don't want everyone to know what it is. Obviously, we all know what it is.
I know what it is.
So you know what it is, don't you? So, but
no.
You don't know what it is. She does. She does. Really?
She does.
It's a coffee machine.
Picture in the week, wasn't there? Of the coffee machine.
Anyway, Deborah. So you've had a good week.
Sorry,
that's right. You've had a good week.
Yes, very good. I enjoyed watching the submarine being unwrapped last night.
I'm not going to live that down, am I? Calling it a submarine Spitfire. I mean, maybe there was going to be a submarine Spitfire just for submarines. My excuse.
Well, what did you think about Starship? Was that the highlight of your week, Starship? I guess it must have been.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was amazing to watch that.
It was amazing. I still think that he has the diva moment as well, and because he didn't land properly, he presses that big button and it just blows up. That to me, that why would that blow up? I mean, it was there, it was okay, but I think he just got the ump and thought, if I can't land properly, I don't want to land at all. Press the button, boom, might drop. But that's really exciting. I love to see what he's doing. I mean, I just can't wait until he says, right, we got a rocket and it's going to Mars. So, look, Shadow, you had to do it, Shadow, didn't you? You really.
Yellow submarine.
Hashtag Daz RC Hangers not going to live it down.
If you put that on your show, I'll have to go back and listen to it because I thought you said Supermarine.
No, anyway. I said it 3 times. A bit like when I should have said Durafly and I said Dynam. I don't know what it is in my head. I think I'm just going to have a big sticker in front of me, so I know what's going on. Hopefully, I won't get the one that's in unboxing next week back to front. It'd be hard to really, but I'm not going to say what it is. But anyway, listen, I'm not sure. I mean, how many people? I have got the Chrome open today, so I can roughly see how many people are in the house. What's that? Issue with the landing legs and a fuel leak.
Yeah.
I don't believe.
Yeah, only half the number of legs. No, you could see them flapping in the wind. There was 3 of the legs doing this.
Really?
There were 3 locked into place. Yeah, 3 locked into place and 3 didn't.
But
And
why
it was
did it
all
blow
round
up?
that
I mean,
point.
surely, I still think it was the Diva mic drop. He just blew it up. Well, what would make that blow up? Or did it just fall over?
Ethane is very, very explosive. Yeah, very explosive. And if it heats up enough and the leak gets bigger, then,
But I
it's
think,
gonna get
I still think those of you who are old enough, and if you're not, go and Google it. It's the Flash Gordon Ming ship. That's where they got the design from.
you want the big pointy thing on it, don't you?
It's just the way it looks when it's going like that, like a cigar tube. It's So EQ's in the house. What a lovely man. Thanks for popping by, EQ. I really appreciate that. That's really nice of you. I mean, these are the guys over from the States.
We need to do that.
I used to. Hang on. I can't. Let's just stop all that, shall we? I'll end up getting cramp or something. I won't be able to do anything. Well, listen, David, we're going to start your movie. What do you reckon? So, are you ready to basically? What we're going to do, as I said, we're going to start. David's recorded this, so we're going to. It's going a bit. There was a fire at the bottom, and I'm just reading what Shadow Officer says. There was a fire at the bottom, and it lit the fuel. Well, you know what? That's what happens when you land on a barbecue. Anyway, so let's start it because the video starts straight away, David. So, EQ, you rock, man. I'm going to take it to the video and you just explain what you're doing and what's going on. So this is the Stingy V2.
Yeah. So sorry for the quiet stage. So what we've done here is I've already done the wiring for the camera at this stage and the VTX. We've put the VTX on the top plate. I do a little bit of a reveal of that later. So what I'm doing here is we're putting in the crossfire receiver. There are 4 wires. There's a positive and a negative, obviously, 5 volts. And then we've got the 2 channel 1, channel 2 wires as well that need to be connected to the UART, the TX and the RX on the UART. So really all I'm doing with this section is just explaining that and about to tin the receiver pads and then strip the wires, solder those, and then literally just tap them together. So hopefully that'll start in a minute. Yeah, we're just also talking there about the fact that there are a number of ways to fix it to the rear of the aircraft. One of them is double-sided tape, which is the method I've chosen. You need to make sure you've got a good bit of double-sided tape as well, a high-quality one. I use 3M. And obviously, there are many other ways of doing it. Some people use cable ties, other people use tape. The reason I've done it at the moment with just obviously tape at the moment is I want to get access to it when I do the setup next week with you guys. So that'll enable me to bind the receiver. Now, the nice thing about a crossfire is that if it hasn't been bound to an aircraft before, when you switch it on next to the radio, you can actually automatically bind it and also download the latest version of software all in the same thing without you having to do anything. So I'll be going through that next week, but you need to be able to see the lights. So obviously if I put tape over it, you wouldn't have been able to see the lights. I must admit that most of my models use the tape method, with the double-sided tape with the tape. So now I'm just preparing this, and we talked about blue tack last week, didn't we? For the American audience, you explained what blue tack was. It's not the most visually attractive material, but it certainly serves a purpose. And all I'm doing here now is cleaning the soldering iron, making sure I've got enough solder. The soldering iron, TS100, and I think I'm just showing you the temperature now, so it's sort of around 395 degrees. So the job here is to get the solder done quickly and efficiently. So great thing with TBS is they make really good solder pads, so they're gold plated. and make life very easy. So just quickly done all 4 of those. Now we'll just show everybody. There you go. So now all tinned. Now we need to get the wires. I'm explaining here that once they're connected, I normally twist them together and pass them underneath the flight controller in this build. They don't need to be perfectly aligned to cut them, but you know, roughly the same length would help. I've made them about 5 centimeters long here, so that's just to make sure I've got enough. I end up cutting quite a bit off. So again, I'm just going to literally strip the cable now, a couple of millimeters off the end. I'm trying to make them all very equal, but like with all things, I've got blunt side cutters. Now, blunt side cutters are actually really good for doing this, so which is why I use my old ones and not my new ones, because the new ones, I don't know whether you do the same, Deborah, but they're really sharp and they'll cut through straight away through the wire, and you can end up shortening the wire and shortening the wire and shortening the wire. So having the old blunt ones, old faithful ones, which are pretty awful, allows you just to be able to pinch, but sometimes it doesn't pinch, pull it off. People do use their nails, although I haven't got nails that are, I've got big fat chubby fingers.
Yeah, I think we all use our favourite tool that does the job. You know, like you say, the new ones, you know, you'll try to do it and you'll end up cutting through it, and like you say, it's a bit of a mare. So I've got my ones around here somewhere, but yeah, the ones I normally use. So yeah, carry on. Sorry, David.
Yeah, no, it's good. So all I'm doing now is, after I've tinned all the wires, I do actually separate them here just to solder them on, and I just quickly, roughly work out, once I've stripped and tinned them, whether the wire's too long or not. And if it's not, if it is too long, I just trim it to be the right size of the pad, and literally then, you know, wet the soldering iron and then dab the soldering iron on the wire and the pad, so it's on the top of the wire, and literally within, you know, less than a second, it's bonded. Make sure there's a good flow, and it's all done. And you can see that these are going through very rapidly, even though, again, it's making sure your soldering iron is clean, making sure you've wet your soldering iron. But anyone who's soldered before will know these things. If you haven't soldered before, then Mamba do a really good practice board as well, and you can get it from most hobby stores or from the Diatone store, and they do a practice FC PCB, which is really cool, and you could buy a few of those. I think they're, you know, I don't know, less than £1 each, I think they are, and it enables you then to practice this kind of soldering. But what is really useful is the difference between having the Antec soldering iron that, you know, obviously has got a lot of mass and holds the heat, which we use for the XT60 lead. With this, what you really want is pencil precision, and I think that's what the TS100 brings. It's just beautiful, and you know, if you've not got a shaky hand, then literally it is like just doing surgery. It's just in and out, and there you go. Nice. I've done all 4 wires. Now twist them up. There are many methods. I think twisting them actually helps with interference, and also then working out what you do with the antenna is the next piece. So the problem with the antenna being on the end is that if you do have a crash, or you get something caught up in the back of the quad, like a twig, Deborah, when we're crashing into those trees, we tend to do that. It tends to rip off the receiver. So I tend to pass it back over the board when I do the heat shrink. Sorry, Deborah?
But you're lucky if it's only that gets ripped off.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And so I pass the wires one way and the antenna the other. So effectively, they go out opposite ends from where the connectors are. And then when you do use the hot air gun to shrink, you can then just squeeze the ends with your thumb and your finger on, and that you'll see in a minute how that works out. And that gives you like a little parcel then with a little bit of protection at each end to stop. Take strain relief is what we'd call it, wouldn't we, Deborah? I guess it's probably the right description. Relatively straightforward. And I've made sure the heat shrink that comes with so TBS are really good with the stuff they provide you, and the heat shrink that comes with the TBS crossfire receiver is very straightforward. Yeah, sorry, I'm doing the sort of cut. And
Black and Decker.
I haven't got a studio like you, so I'm using my iPhone to do the control of the GoPro.
It's a hangout, it's not a studio.
Yeah. Sorry,
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
And what I'm saying here is that it's good practice. I like having the props on because it just sort of gives the aircraft form. But when you're doing
with the heat gun, it's just good practice just to move it out of the way. And I've got this nice little cup on the end of my heat gun that allows the heat to circulate. I have it lower heat rather than hotter. The aim here is to get the heat equally around the part, really, rather than worrying about the heat. So you don't want it too hot, because then you will end up maybe with little holes in the heat shrink and stuff like that. Although it's good quality heat shrink you get. Yeah, and yes, absolutely, Shadow. And you can see here now, I'm just squeezing the either end of that, just making sure it's in place. Now, what I'm talking about here is the bind button that's really close to the antenna. So while it was still warm, I was making sure that the aerial didn't go over the little connector, didn't go over the bind button, so I could still press it. And I was just checking that I could press it. As I said, this shouldn't need me to press it, because it should automatically bind, because it's never been bound to an aircraft before. And you'll see that in the software update when we get into that next week. That does take a little bit of time, so we'll go through that in real time next week. But and we'll let that do binding while we're setting up the beta flight, and you'll see that as it comes, to the end, the light will go from blue to green, and then you'll know that it's updated with the latest software and bound to the model that we've created on the Tyrannus.
Yeah, as I said, I think it makes a lot of sense actually what we're doing. So I'm just moving myself about. I just realised that the chat goes over me. But anyway, is that we have a full session with the beta flight, because that will be a complete sort of thing.
Yeah, I think between Deborah and I, we have a lot of experience of tuning with it as well. So it's we can just give you the stuff that we do. We're not saying it's the right stuff, but we're saying it's what we do. So what I'm doing here then, while I'm working out the wiring of connecting the other end now of the cables from the receiver to the flight controller, rather than taping the receiver down, I'm using blue tack again, which I know is a bit naughty, but this enables me then just to make sure that I don't over tension the wires. So if I do by mistake cut one too short, then I've got a little bit of wiggle room that I can move the board. And I'm again talking about, you can use a cable tie here, you can use double-sided tape, or you can use insulating tape or self-amalgamating tape to connect that receiver. What I'm pointing out from the diagram, Chris, I don't know whether you want to flash up on the screen in a minute, but the diagram shows that on the left-hand side of the flight controller, so as we're looking at the screen, it's the right one. Yeah, so it's this diagram, which we can send a link to. Let me do that. And you can see that they're all on one side. On the other side to this, they're all here, the connectors for the Crossfire and the FR Sky receiver. So it's just a case of really now tinning those pads, tinning the pads in a way that we don't make a mistake. Because the nice thing about tinning the pads, Chris, with this is because you've got to skip one. So it's two pads, skip one, then skip another one. So you have effectively got two spaces in there in the sort of 4 that you're using out of 6 pins. Now, so by tinning, there you go. Yeah, so you can see that there's a 3.3 volt next to the 5 volt. So by making sure, and then you skip the bottom one because it's not needed, because that's S-bus. So you come up one, so you miss one, solder the next 2, miss one, solder the next 2. And once you've tinned those pads, it's the same process of, stripping the wire, trimming that if required after you've soldered it, and then soldering it onto the board. And I think the process happens fairly quickly, and making sure it's not too tight and that it's not jammed on any of the components under the flight controller between there and the ESC. And again, you'll see that. Hey, William. Yeah, the Armatans are really nice quads. You like the Armatans, don't you, Deborah?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I got a Rooster, and it's it's a tough little thing, actually.
Yeah, it's done really well, hasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Sort of titanium metal parts and good quality
I do like it.
parts.
It's a beautiful thing.
Sorry, David, I couldn't hear you.
No, I was just saying I do like the way it mixes the titanium parts, and Deborah's done a really nice orange build, haven't you, on your latest one, your digital one? I don't know if you've got it.
Have you got it?
It's an amazing one.
See if I can find it.
Okay. Deborah's got many quads. Yeah. Hi, William. Thanks for joining us. They say Shadow's been a superhero. Oh, look at that. Should we just, yeah.
Work out where the camera is. So there we go. Yeah, so that's a really, and fitted with the DJI Air unit and DJI camera, and hence the 2 antennas on the back. Yeah, it's a lovely quad to fly, and this is on 6-inch. Well, they're 5-inch props at the moment, but it will fly on 6-inch props. It's got 6-inch arms on there.
Awesome.
It's one of the collection.
I actually, can we? Yeah, your collection. I was going to say, Deborah, before you moved away, could you just have a look at that? So I've got to pull one of these out because I just hear myself. Could I have a look at the back end where you've got the antennas? Because that looks really cool, 3D printing. Wow. That is sweet.
It's a really nice build.
That is awesome. I like that.
Yeah, DJI Air unit is a really nice piece of kit. So you can see here, I'm just finishing up. Sorry, Deborah, you carry on.
I was going to just say, it's mute my phone a second. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the Air unit to fit, so I just plonked it on top. And I have an underslung battery on this one. So, but it flies lovely. It really does. It's a lovely thing to fly around the field. So, yeah, I'll put it away.
Sorry, Deborah, just to interrupt you. You can see here, I'm just showing those solder joints, so all nicely done there. And now I'm just talking about actually going to stick it to the back of the quad. So I'm going to obviously remove the blue tack, which I've done before this shot, and now just measuring it down the length. There's a school of thought that you should really just warm up the areas that you're going to tape, obviously clean them as well. And so all I'm doing here is just making sure that they're not too cold. It just helps the adhesive stick. And again, having a really good quality double-sided tape really makes the difference. I think you'd agree with that, Deborah, or do you just use any old? I tend to go 3Ms, but I don't know whether I'm being overcautious.
I have got some self-amalgamating tape, but I have no clue who made it. I've had it for years.
Oh, no, this isn't self-amalgamating. This is just double-sided stuff from 3Ms.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think 3M
I think I bought some from my local model store, so it's yellow. It's got some yellow paper on the top of it, so I have no idea if it's 3Ms or not, though. I know it's not like that.
Yeah, I've got like a pack of stuff. It's got like 3M stuff.
Yeah,
it's like a little
3M
pack
as
of
well,
rounds and bits and pieces.
I've got to be honest with you, for double-sided tape, I've got a reel of carpet tape, double-sided carpet tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really strong stuff. Isn't it?
This is.
I'm showing the self-amalgamating tape here, Deborah. So if I was going to tape over it, which I'm not until I've done the binding, that's the stuff that looks a little. It's not shiny. It's a nice fabric texture to it, like you do in the car wiring looms.
Well, this is similar, Deborah, to your carpet tape. This is what I use. It's double-sided, and I use this to hold down my battery holders in the planes. You know, it's kind of a dash. You get that bobbly stuff. I don't know where I've actually got it, but it's bobbly stuff that you put in there. RC Informer uses it as well. He uses it in his planes, so that's really, really cool.
So just explaining here that the capacitor now is coming. Oh, sorry, William's got another question for you, Deborah. I'll let you take that.
So what you're saying, William, is that you're thinking of buying into the DJI system. I've got to say, I do love the digital system. It's just amazing. The clarity of it is just really good. So I can't knock it. Although I suspect I'm going to be given an opportunity to do something like that in a minute.
Was that the end of the video there, Chris, or did you ever?
That was the end of the video. That was all that was on the stick. So I don't know if you want to. I've got a large, haven't I, David? Large. There you go. No, yeah, a large, David. Yeah. You just got a large picture. So if you want to, I saw this today. David had to distance, obviously, social distancing, and actually saw this. So take us through what's left.
So the bit that really we didn't show you too much of, but I will make sure there's some good pictures on the Instagram, is the installation of the VTX. The VTX sits on the top plate I'm trying to get a good angle here. Sorry, I'm not very good at, I'm not experienced like you. I'm going the wrong way. I've got to do the mirror image.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's froze.
So
there you go.
Yeah, we're back. Yeah. So the VTX is underneath the top plate. The cable then is like an umbilical cord that goes from the back of the, in this case, I've chosen the TBS Unify Evo Pro, so it does barcodes reading as well. And the antenna just fits nicely on the back. And you've got a nice space. I don't know whether you can see the gap between the top of the frame and the antenna cable allows you to fit a battery strap underneath. And then at the front, we had a little bit of trouble with the camera mount that came with the Stingy. The problem was it was too wide, and that was forcing the side plates for the camera out. And that meant that you unless you put an awful lot of force on it, you'd have to crush them in to get into the top plate. So what I did was I just redesigned another part, which I'll put on Thingiverse, and to replace the existing part. It's exactly the same, except instead of being the arms being 2.5 mil wide, they're 1.2 mil wide. And then that solved the problem. That meant that, you know, the screws fitted nicely through the side, and the side plates fitted through the top and the bottom plates, just with a very little squeeze this time, rather than a really hefty squeeze. Yeah, we got a nice sort of design for the battery pad. Now I know people use Grip and other things, but when this is printed, so this is the rougher surface on top, so i.e. the top of the print. And when you've actually got your battery on there and it's crossed in with the battery strap, it doesn't move. It's very solid, and it just gives it a nice sort of color scheme and a sort of, I guess
Yeah,
it
it looks
looks like
awesome.
something.
It really does look awesome.
Mm. Have you got a beeper on that one?
Not yet, Deborah. I didn't put the beeper on. The reason for not putting the beeper on is that when I do the setup next week, I don't want the beeper going. I know there's ways of turning them off so they don't, but I thought, well, I'll leave it until I've do that as the last step normally.
Yeah.
It's normally an afterthought, to be fair with me. And then just to look at the back then, where we've got the TBS Immortal T, the smaller version, you can see it's just over the back, and there's two cable ties holding it in place. So the back end does look quite tidy. In fact, the whole build inside, is quite tidy. I've got some wires out the side. Now, this is for the camera setup. This is to allow me to do the camera setup when we do that next week. With the new run cams, you have to short two wires out to switch the modes from joystick to UART, which we'll do when we're in beta flight, and then just double test that.
Okay,
and then
that's really good to know.
Yeah, and then the TBS Unify has also got a little micro USB connector, and again, this where it's positioned on the side plate allows you access to that, so you can get into the USB-C for the flight controller, and then the TBS Unify is here, and you can set up all the parameters you want on the TBS Unify. And in fact, you could connect it directly to the camera, miss out the flight controller completely, and then set up the OSD in the TBS agent software, which is really good. And then I've got the camera mount, really copied from Impulse RC, with this really nice carbon plate on the back to protect the screen that slips inside the GoPro mount. And yeah, that sort of rounds out the quad. I'm really looking forward to flying it now. The video, I did switch it on, and there's some pictures of the video coming back out of this. So I've got it as far as making sure everything works. The motors work, the video transmitter works, the receiver green light comes on. I might even just show you that actually, rather than talking about it.
Yeah, just make sure your props are loose.
Yes, one of the little tips, I don't know whether, again, this is because I'm once bitten, twice shy. And I think everybody's seen that Sharpoo video, who's a drone pilot, and will remember Sharpoo jumping up and down madly when he was explaining when his quad just literally motors burst into life when he plugged the battery in, and he was trying to kick it down with his legs. But on this one, what I tend to do is just finger tight the prop nuts, just so that they're loose enough. Now, if I put my finger in the way, the motor can continue to spin happily. So if you are going to put them on, and I would argue that it's probably not a good idea, but I like them on, then just use finger tight and only tighten them up when you go to the field. Do remember to tighten them up, because if you don't when you go to the field, the props just fly off when you turn it on. But yeah, but that's a way of doing that.
That's okay, Shadow. You can watch the rerun. It's all good. If you're tired, buddy, you keep down, man. If you don't force yourself to stay awake.
I'm sorry if it's
It's all your...
Well, if I can work like sheep, then I'm happy to help.
Yeah, David's got one of them harmonious voices that just makes you feel relaxed. It's great. So, I
Or-
mean, David, probably just to wake Shadow up then, I mean, without the GoPro, I mean, what sort of price are you looking at for that build? Obviously, you know, the 3D printings from yourself, but from the actual build that you did, I mean, what price would...
Yeah.
I'm just going to get...
So we just sort of add it up in our heads as we go. The motors, well, the frame. Let's start with the frame. The frame was about 120 quid. The forged carbon frame from the US. You could argue on top of that there was a customs fee to pay, so probably 130 quid. The motors themselves, we got to they're about, call them a tenner each, so that's 40 quid for the motors. Right. So if we said 120 for the frame, 40 quid for the motor, so we're up to 160. So if you keep that number in your head. And then the camera itself, I think that was around, it's the Runcam Racer 3, so 25 quid, do you reckon?
Yeah, around.
I think that's around about the right price. So what we're up to, £185 for that. Then the flight controller with the ESCs is £85. So what's that then? We've got 185 plus 85, haven't we? So what, that's 170? So 270, sorry. Yeah, so 270. Then we've got the receiver and the VTX. Now the VTX, unfortunately, is one of those more expensive ones. I think it's 40 or 50 quid because it's the TBS Unify Pro. So call that then 320. An aerial to go on the end of it, which is another 15 quid, so 335. And then the receiver, TBS Nano Pros, around 15, 20 quid, depending on whether you buy them as a pack of 5 or buy them individually. Yeah. So what, 350 we call it approximately?
Okay, so 350. That's $484. So yeah. £350 or $438. Wow. So, but it's a whole lot of quad, and you know, I mean, obviously, you know, we could spend that amount on a plane, you know, and once that crashes, it's never quite the same. But obviously, with that quad, I mean, you know, it's pretty solid. It really is. So that's worth your money, I think.
Yeah, I reckon you could get away with crashing this, and 9 times out of 10, you'd only bend a propeller. Mm-hmm. I would even say hitting a tree, Deborah, or even mid-air collisions with other quads, you'd get away with it, wouldn't you? Most of the time, it would be very rare unless you went in the drainage ditch or.
Really, it's very rare that you break something off, you know, like an arm or anything. I mean, it happens, but these things are designed for flying around these abandoned buildings, aren't they? So, you know, smashing concrete.
Okay. Well, I mean, that is the Stingy 2. I mean, we will be looking at beta flight next week.
Would you like to know the weight of this with a battery?
Yes. Go on.
Okay. So I brought one.
While David's measuring that out, so the beta flight, which is in my book, is a very important thing, is going to be a full video of beta flight next week. I'm sure everyone can do that. Deborah and David are quite eager to get this finished because obviously we have got another quad to build, and then we've got giveaways on that quad. So as I say, all this sort of stuff that David's done is on Thingiverse, so you can download and print, and I'm sure you can get in touch with David. So go on, David.
Yeah, so no, I was just going to say this is a 6S battery, 1300. So without battery, but with the GoPro, it's 565 grams. So with the battery, 775 grams. So if we just make a note of that number for later,
Deborah,
I'm just going to give it.
I haven't got a pen.
No, in my head, 775.
That'll be good. Head. I can't remember my own name in the morning. Right, so it's 775.
Yeah. Well, I think I said to you the other week, didn't I? I got halfway up the stairs, stopped for a breath, and then couldn't remember whether I was going up or down.
So Williams, I mean, to Deborah, do you want to? Yeah, have you heard of this?
Yeah.
What's your favourite
prop? I tend to use the watermelon ones that Dave's got on that quad there, actually.
And who makes those?
Yeah.
They're high.
Ethics. Well, HQ props, aren't they? They're HQ.
Prop.
HQ. Yeah.
But to be honest, I've got loads of different props. You know, just whatever I've got in the bag, really.
I'm definitely an HQ.
We'll do an episode, I think, and we'll call it sort of Deborah's Wall. because she's got more quads than I have planes, and that's saying something. So
Well,
we'll
that's
do that.
Yeah,
I
I don't put them up on the wall for good reason.
Right. So I mean, what's this one you've got here, David? Then.
So this is a steel alien. Okay,
Right.
so this is comparison built, properly with the light options. So the weight of that quad without a camera on is 396. With it isn't. I'd love to say this is a box 2. Unfortunately, it's not a session, which I love. But anyway, it's as close to a session as you can get. That takes it to 483, and then with the battery that we used on the other quad, we're at 693.
Wow.
So we're about 80 grams lighter than the other quad.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and a similar build to the other one, as you can see from anyway. Right, so
the one
that's
you've just done is phenomenal. Anyway, this thing looks great. So this is the moment we've been waiting for. Now, what have you got in the box, David?
yeah. What have I got in the box?
I'll tell you what I'm going to do, because we don't need to see us for the moment. I'm going to do this. This is before you open it. This is going to be kind of live, so. I'm just going to change a few things, so don't worry about me. Nothing to see. Hey presto, there's David. So, and then I must admit I didn't get a chance to do tons of what's happening? Hang on. Never do things live. Why do I do this to myself? There's me. Yeah. So we're going to just going to stick me up. Where are we going to stick me up? Up would be better, wouldn't it? It's just so people can still see us here. So look at this. Let me do it live. And then we're going to add another one. And we're going to have 2 of me, because it's all about me. No, it's not. We have Deborah. There she is. Hello, Deborah. I forgot to make this slide thing, whatever, earlier on today. So my apologies. Right, so if I look at the live out, Deborah's just on the larger side, so we can have. Right, David, the floor is yours, sir. What have we in the box? Oh, I've lost David's audio. David, hello? I've lost your audio, sir. How's that?
You muted. That's better.
I
You muted me, which is that's all right.
Because it wasn't meant to be. It's just meant to be on me. So, right. What's this? So, what's that? What's in the box?
Oh.
Said Brad Pitt in 7.
Pitt in 7. Yeah. This is about the right same. But do you know that film? I love it, but because of that end scene out near the pylons, I just can't watch it. It's really bad, isn't it? Right. So I'm going to have to just stand up.
Oh, standing up. Should I stand up? Is this something an occasion? Come, Deborah, stand
Bill's
up.
in the box.
Oh, I saw a glimpse of something. It looks like a coffee machine. Oh wow! DJI FPV combo.
Oh wow! So I'm going to start peeling off my.
It does look like an espresso machine.
It bloody well does, doesn't it?
Wouldn't that be cool? DJI bought a coffee machine. You know, it fly to you in the morning when you're in bed.
When I sent you to you the other week, I think you thought that was real, didn't you, for a moment?
I did. I said, David, just to say why I think it's an espresso machine, David sent me a picture in the week, and it was literally had a latte at the front of the head. And I thought, oh, DJI have done a coffee machine. How cool is that? It's almost as bad as my submarines, but anyway. So, yes, this is great.
Ooh.
This is great. I've seen a couple of videos, but it'd be interesting.
Oh, I can smell it. It smells so good. Oh, man.
Hello. Look at that. Shiny things. And goggles as well.
Wow. Yeah, it's the fly. I was going to say the Fly More combo. It's not. It's the combo. It would have been nice to have been the Fly More. And we'll talk about component prices as we get there.
Is this? Sorry,
Oh,
David,
wow.
Is this new V whatever goggles?
This is the V2 goggles. Yeah, the dual band V2 goggles, which covers both the 2.4 and the 5.8 band.
Wow.
Whereas for the V1 was just the 5.8 band. We've now got access to the 2.4, and it's from 2.4 to 2.485. Well, it depends on where you are. I mean, there are slightly different bands depending on whether you're in an FCC region or a European CE region. But yeah, generally speaking, you get access to both of those bands. So from 2.4 to 2.85 or 3.4835, I think, and it's from I think 5.7. Although the amateur radio ones are at 5.69. So we sometimes use that in the UK, going right up to the 5.85. And yes. So, oh my God!
Explain what this alien-looking thing is. I mean, I can see lots of
Yeah.
cameras on it and stuff.
Should we get everything out of the box and then put it all on the table and then go through?
You go for
each
it, David.
content?
The floor is yours, sir. I'm going to literally, I'm going to mute myself because I've got to turn my heater on because I'm freezing my nodules.
So yeah, there's the V2 goggles. Oh, they just look so good. It's like when you got the first V1s, Deborah. It was a really nice experience. They feel really nice in the hands as well. Very excited. And then there's this big. Sorry, Deborah.
They're the same weight as the original ones?
Yeah, they feel and look identical. It's just they look new compared to my old ones, right? And I had a purple faceplate, as you know, on mine. So
yeah, yes.
Right, so they've got this bloody thing. All right, that's a bit of a. Ooh, that's out. Okay, nothing in there. Okay. Oh, this is so nice.
It's a PlayStation.
Oh wow. Yeah, wow, that is so nice. And it's got the little tab that just fits beautifully in your hand. It's just really, really nice.
Wow.
I've got some little tabs on here which we'll take off in a minute to get to the sticks.
Okay.
So good. Right, I've got a load of boxes in here. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. These are props.
Oh, they got red tips on those.
Yeah, where's the sweets? What are the little sweets you like? Haribos is the ones you like, aren't they, Deborah, in the box? Yeah, these are props. So it looks like I've got 2 of those. 2 prop boxes. And then what else have I got?
2 prop boxes. What, you got spare props?
Yeah, it would look like they're quite expensive. Used to paying 3-4 quid. Well, not even that. 3 quid for a pack of 4, and these are £15 for a pack.
Geez.
Yeah, so it's a bit. Ooh, okay.
Are you going to crash a DJI project?
Yeah, exactly. Well, how often? Yeah, anyway, let's not go there. This looks like a battery. Should I just rip this out? Yeah.
You go for it. It's your toy. Shouldn't call it a toy. It's an adult toy. Shouldn't say that either, really.
Oh, that's the little smart battery. It looks like it needs charging, which is really good. That's for the goggles. So, Deborah, I think the big change here, isn't it? Is the goggle battery as well. It can take up to 6S, the new goggles, but they're only providing us with a 2S battery. So that's an interesting. But we'll see how that goes. Oh God, this is tight.
You'd probably, if you was going to do like a big 6S, you'd probably want like a little Batman belt, wouldn't you? A utility belt to have it on. You wouldn't want a 6S hanging on your head all day, would you? Ooh.
No, you put your 6S in your pocket.
You take it off and put it on the bench, and then you walk away with the battery still attached to your belt, and you drag it on the floor.
And then you bounce the antennas, don't you, Deborah? And they snap and go all bendy.
Oh dear. Sounds like someone's had the experience.
So mains cable. I'm just trying to get the bench cleared in a second. We've got some dual band antennas. That's the other thing that's changed. So you can't interchange your V1 with your V2 antennas because they're dual band. They support both 2.4 and 5.8 band, as we said earlier. We've got this nice. Sorry, Deborah.
You can't use the aftermarket ones either, can you?
No, not at the moment. I'm sure they'll come out with some, but yeah, at the moment we're kind of stuck, aren't we? So nice little power cable. That it's got a USB-C, and one of the things people Bardwell was on about the other day, Joshua Bardwell, was that don't use this as a power pack for your phone.
Oh yeah.
Because it's not 5 volts that comes out of it; it's 9 or something. He was saying.
Okay.
So I am being really childish here. I'm just ripping these apart. It's like Christmas Day, isn't it?
It is Christmas.
Right. This is the head strap. So a nice new head strap. Looks the same again, Deborah. It doesn't look any different from what we've had. No. And a nice USB-C to USB 2, I think, on there. But anyway, so that's cool. An Allen key, and I've been told you need this to adjust the tension on the remote control, so that the arm on the throttle lever, which I'm mode 2, but I know there are other modes as well for them. You need to be able to drop it to the bottom for FPV mode. And then I've got the OTA cable here as well. So yeah, really nice. So that's USB-C to USB, and another set of aerials. Oh, and a set of sticks, which is nice. So a spare set of sticks,
wow,
which is always helpful.
Uh,
Right, let's get rid of this off the bench.
Look at the
I was going to do your kind of throw it off.
Yeah, but
Right.
don't need it. It's gone.
Don't need it anymore. It's gone. So let's start with the drone then.
Yeah, there.
Hopefully it's going to stabilize in a second, because it seems to be a bit
No, it's fine. It's fine.
jerky. Okay, yeah, a bit choppy. So it's a really interesting design. Just looking at this, I know people said that the front arms and the rear arms acted as a sort of an aerofoil, and when you've got it at sort of your 30 degree sort of angle, those are almost aerodynamic surfaces. And the other thing that a number of people were saying is that there's a dihedral in the wing, so it's almost like a wing section with a dihedral, and you can see that really. And this heat sink at the back is really beautiful. It's sort of aluminium, really nice, ducted, and a nice little cowl in the front as an intake.
Wow.
Really beautiful. And you can see that yeah, it's going to make some heat, isn't it? And you've got some little stickers. I'm just taking it off. It's just reminding you of the props, the A and the B props, but they've little red circles in the middle of the props, and then red lines on the outside of the motors.
Okay.
So I hope that me taking these off now, I won't put them on the wrong way, but we'll soon see.
You can look back at this video and then remember what's what.
Yes, we'll remember where it was. And then like always, you've got these little bits of plastic that.
Right.
There we go. And then hopefully, what was a bit of a. Oh yeah, and off comes the gimbal protector.
Wow.
And
So
that
actually
is
moves,
beautiful.
Is the camera moves or
Yeah.
in flight?
When you've got in flight, you've got the ability with the remote control to set the angle that you want to set. So with this, you can move it up and down. And on the flight simulator that I was practicing on the iPhone app, you can literally, with this, move the tilt up and down as you're flying. So if you approach an object, yeah, you can lower the angle, or if you're just herring around like we normally do, fixed at sort of around. I like around 28 to 30 degrees is about where I fly. I know other people have other things as well. We'll come to the controller in a second.
Okay.
But yeah, just sort of looking at this. So in terms of, I've stacked you. I've got a couple. I've lost your screen, so I'm just going to get rid of that. That's better. So the aircraft itself, as I say, it looks like they're aerofoil surfaces. It looks like they've got a dihedral, and it also looks like the motors are canted in as well. You can probably see that in there. Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, the strength of it feels pretty solid, Deborah, but I kind of know that if you hit the ground hard with this, it's going to be a bit of a bad day. You've got some nice features. It is made of plastic, for sure. Some nice sensors on the bottom, ultrasonics, looks like some infrared, and then a nice spotlight. I really like my Mavic Air 2 with the spotlight on. So when you come into land, the light comes on, especially at night. Yeah, it's like a UFO coming in. It's really, really cool. So, and then you've got those same sort of sensors on the front. No ultrasonics, but in fact, they don't look like ultrasonics at all. They look like cameras, actually. Yeah, it's from my eyesight with these glasses on.
Yeah, cameras are they? So you've got different cameras. Is that for recording purposes or?
No, this is obstacle avoidance. So it whilst it doesn't move the quad out the way, it warns you of those obstacles. So and in the normal mode and the normal mode only, it will slow you down so you can't fly into them. When you're in FPV mode, which is probably where I'll spend most of the time, it just gives you a warning, which is quite cool. The battery seems to have quite a nice connector on it. It's quite thick and rubberized, which I'm really impressed with. And you can push that in, but I'm going to take the battery out. Okay, so that's the battery.
Wow.
That is the battery itself, not a holder. Wow.
Yeah, and it's 6S. Now it's underslung, and some of the electronics is towards the bottom of the battery, so where the little landing leg's in. So if you land hard on concrete, I'm sure that's going to be a bit of an issue. But that said, You know, we're used to having batteries on the bottom of our quads anyway, as Deborah said, so maybe we can do a carbon plate or something on the bottom of that.
They make cushions.
Yeah, there's little wings that are cushions on here. You can see rubberized, but you know, you can just see if there's a stone or something. You know, the electronics for the smart power on is here. Now, I've got to go and charge this first. I was reading in the instructions that you've got to charge this to start with to unlock the battery. So I can't, like with the other, I was able to press and double press. It doesn't work. It needs to be go on the charger, which I haven't obviously opened the box. So I haven't charged it. So what we can do though, of stuff that's of interest. Let's just weigh a bit and see how much these things weigh.
What's William saying, Deborah?
Say again?
Stubby little bugger. Gimbal goes vertical though. Yeah, it's not quite. It does go. Yeah, you're right. Look, there you go, William, for your. And then if you look down as well, you're not quite underneath you. So you're going to need a little bit of sort of forward momentum to actually get beneath you. Right, so what do we want to measure first? Do you reckon the battery? Should the battery? So the battery is 288 grams. Wow. And that compares to one of my normal 6S, which is 210. Okay, I wouldn't have said that it was going to be that heavy. Okay, so that's 70 grams difference between the two batteries.
Wow.
Do you know what type of chemistry the battery is?
Yeah, it's lithium polymer, the same as lipos, the same as the rest. Yeah, they haven't done the lithium ion. You can definitely feel, you'd feel that because the ones I use for my goggles now are lithium ion. As I understand, I'll double check that, Deborah. I'm sure it was lithium polymer in there. So 70 grams different in the batteries, but there is a difference in capacity as well. So this is 220 milliampere hours and this is only 1300. So it's almost double the capacity of what I've got in here.
What's the C rating on those, do you know?
The C rating on mine is 120, and I don't know what it is on the DJI. That's a really good question. See if I can see
I've said
on any of my notes.
That's it. That's me lot now. It's all down to you and Deborah.
No, you've done really well. Okay, so it talks about charging. It doesn't talk. Okay, intelligent battery, 202. So it's 2,000 milliampere hours, not 2,200. They are LiPo chemistry, Deborah. 6S. Okay. 44 watt hours of energy at 0.5 degrees Celsius. Discharge rate standard is 10C, so substantially less than what would normally, but maybe they're understating that. And the maximum you can charge it is 90 watts.
So what
okay.
does it relate to roughly in flight time then?
Well, the flight times they're talking about, they've got some. So if we go through that, so approximate flight time when you're measured while flying at 40 kilometers an hour, because there are three speeds that we can fly at in normal mode, sports mode, and then in full acro, you're looking at 20 minutes, and a hover time is around 16 minutes is what they're suggesting. And then a maximum flight distance of around 17 kilometers, which is quite good. Maximum wind speed, which is always worth knowing, is around 50 kilometers per hour. 25 to 31 miles an hour is what we should say, really, if both for the Americans and for the British of us on the call. But yeah, so that I'm a little bit shocked about, actually. I was expecting it to be much heavier than the flight pack, but it doesn't seem to be. Then let's see what this little stubby little bugger, I think, was William said. Hopefully I haven't misquoted him, so I'm just going to re-zero.
Yeah, you're quite right. He said stubby little bugger.
Okay, I need to turn that round. Okay, what do we reckon that the craft weighs without the battery?
I would probably go for about 400.
Yeah, 477. So yeah, so 477. So let's compare that to the Steel Alien then. So direct comparison. Put the Steel Alien on, which is my light build, 398. Okay, so 397. So we put this back on. That's 477. So if I can whip out the, so don't forget this is actually with the GoPro on. So if I was to be and call it, put the camera on, the Steel to make it fair. Yeah. Okay, 483 for the Steel with the camera on, the box 2. So 483 versus 478. So in fact, the Steel frame with the session equivalent, I know it's not a session, I've frozen, haven't I? Session is heavier than the DJI
Wow,
without the battery.
that's crazy stuff.
So
Interesting.
that's crazy stuff, isn't it? Yeah. And the steel quad for me is supposed to be one of my lighter quads.
Okay.
So
It makes you where the weight is distributed inside that DJI craft.
Yeah.
Because the
And when you
case look that heavy.
it's because it's stubby. Back to William's point, I think. The battery slides in really well. It's really satisfying clunk when it's in. And when you, so let's try and, right, Deborah, holding the sides, which is what we would do with our quads, that's perfectly balanced in the middle of the blades. Perfectly balanced. You can just see if I rock it, it immediately stabilizes itself. Okay, that shocked me. I know there were a lot of reports about it being really heavy. And you've definitely got a difference in the battery of 70 grams. So maybe they'll do a lightweight battery with a shorter flight time later on, which would give it a bit more performance. I mean, maybe that's a thought. Certainly, like when I've wasted a few. Go on, Deborah, you go.
I was going to say, with the battery C rating being so low, you wouldn't expect to be able to do massive punch outs like you do with a 120C battery.
Yeah, that's interesting because I don't know whether you've seen a number of the videos on YouTube. I've seen massive punch outs with them, so it'll be interesting to see, won't it? We've got another 20 odd days in lockdown before we're going to get out to the field, but I'm really looking forward to that.
It is 8th of April.
Yeah. So just to give you some stats then around the performance. So because let's just we think about in manual mode. You can go as fast as you want. When you're ascending in sports mode, it's around 15 meters a second, which is 30-40 miles an hour, isn't it? That sort of order. Well, I lie, actually. It's a lot less than that because anyway, yeah, come back to that. And then in normal mode, it's 8 meters a second. And then obviously max speed is 40 kilometers an hour in manual mode, 39 meters per second that equates to. So sport mode is 27 meters per second and normal mode is 15 meters per second. Wow. So that's quite some difference, isn't it? So really nice. It does 0 to 60 in manual mode in 2 seconds.
Damn. That's
so
fast.
that is moving. Now that does mean that if you do crash it at that kind of speed, and I've heard people doing 80 odd miles an hour with this, the maximum speed. So, if it is 80 odd miles an hour, then we're looking at, some serious impacts, aren't we? With that.
Bits.
So that's the quad. The memory card, for those of you who don't know, clips in the front here, as does the USB-C. I don't know if I can show you that properly. There you go. Yeah, so that's that. And that's quite waterproof and clicks together. Now, I saw a great video the other day where a guy had a 2-litre bottle of water and he just literally poured it over the drone in flight. And the water was going in through the canopy and it didn't stop flying, and the video was rock solid throughout. So we might come back to that in a few minutes with the props, but I'll leave that just for a second. Moving over here. Goggles, I don't think there's any point in talking through this too much other than to say that they look very, very similar to the ones before. The major difference, I think, is the dual band operation and the dual band antennas. Deborah, the plugging in of, just making sure I've got you on camera, the screwing in of the antennas is identical.
Yeah.
Thanks for popping by, EQ. Cheers, buddy.
Bye, EQ. Thanks for staying so long. Yeah, we're just over the hour. Chris, are you all right to carry on for a little? We're nearly done anyway.
I'm fine. It's fine.
And I'm going to screw them on because they're dual band, and I don't want them to get mixed up with the single band antennas I've got. I can't see, but my eyes are dim. They do actually look slightly different shape, Deborah, but I'd need to confirm that. There's no marking on there to say that they're dual band. So I might do some little painting around the base just to let myself know that they are. Little purple stripe or something. I'm into purple, so yeah, it has to be purple. Yeah, all of the controls are the same. The joystick's the same on top. I believe there's a new menu system for the drone, but to go and use our legacy air units, we go into the old menu system that you and I are familiar with, and the memory stick place and the USB-C are in the same place. Yeah, the IPD, interpupillary distance controls are the same. They feel the same. This time I'm going to remember to take I remember putting this system on for the first time, and I left the plastic on the lenses, and I thought to myself, wow, this system is pretty crap actually, and I was really hacked off, and then I put them down, and I remember they've actually put writing on these now, so you can't make that mistake. And then when I then peeled this off, I would just remember the absolute amazement of putting this on, and it is that oh wow moment. And I've used hey Jeff, and I've used the Bite Frost system, and it just doesn't compare for the wow factor that DJI have done, and now at 50 megabits their system is just outstanding. So yeah, the goggles are the same, so probably not much to talk about there. And if we look at well, obviously next time I'll have got it all registered and powered up, so we can so let's just have a look at the controller. So again, there's a few buttons on here. I'm going to just put the sticks on because I want to see what that feels like. They're tucked away, the sticks, in the handles, which is quite nice. My smart controller, they're underneath where the aerial folds down, which is quite good. And there are different shapes stick as well than I'm used to, because the smart controller has these sort of wider stance sticks with an M3. I think it's M3. Yes, M3 thread, and these are. Siri's asking.
It's sprung loaded, isn't it? One of the sticks to be
in
the centre. Yeah.
That's right. You've got on your throttles. You'd normally from a. Oh God, I've got to get it in view, haven't I? I'm not very good at this YouTube stuff. Yes, it's in the middle, Deborah. Now the way to loosen that is there's a rubber grip on the back, and there's a little arrow there, and I think you just get your. I was going to say get your nail in underneath it. I wish I had a little plastic spudger actually.
So when you say a mount, something like that, is that how the controller's set up for for a camera drone? I don't actually own a camera drone, so.
Absolutely. So if you've got a DJI, I could get one out of the box here. But yes, they're absolutely the same as that. Sticks in the center. And when you look at this would be up, that would be down, that would be turn left, that would be turn right. That would be go forward, that would be go back, that would be go right, that would be go left. So it's more about you telling the drone where you want it to go, and it flies itself. And of course, that would be exactly the same in the normal mode on here. So there's a little rocker switch here that's sort of normal. I don't know if you can see that, normal, sport, and manual. Now, when you go to manual mode, I was practicing this on the app this morning, you have to center the right stick and lower the left stick, and it shows you this in a graphic on the goggles, and there's a little green area that you have to put it into to get that to happen, and then it allows you to go into manual. But when you're in what we would term as acro mode, it's almost like what we would call horizon mode, where you're limited on the amount of roll and the ailerons, elevators, and you're all limited to about 30 degrees roll, pitch, and yaw. And so you then have to go into another menu, which is where the PIDs are located and where the RC rate and super rate is, and I will talk through that another time, and go into that and then set it to switch off this angle mode and go into acro, and then it allows you to do full manual. There's some really nice features.
Just a quick one, David. Just a quick one. This is what William, and I think this is what William means anyway. Is that obviously in southern Arizona, I mean, the sun is sunnier than we ever see in the UK, and obviously being the DJI being black, that's just like wearing a black jumper in the sun. You know, it just sucks up the heat. I mean, and you, like rightly so, you'd think they'd have a separate shell to be a white one to reflect the heat. So do you think that could be a problem with the? I mean, I know you said it's got a massive heat sink, but do you think it could be a problem with the hotter countries?
I have no experience to be to be true. It's not black in the true sense of black. It's the sort of I'd call it almost metallic grey. You know, it's gunmetal grey is what I would call it. And then the main canopy is see-through. That you can buy, and I have seen others with. They got a green canopy to go with theirs. I didn't get that in the box. All we got was this. Yes, I agree, William. It's very much like the TBS1 controller. Go on, sorry, Deborah. I didn't mean to talk over you. But
No, I was just agreeing. I agree. It looks like the TBS radio.
it does,
so that
doesn't it?
radio, as it stands right now with the firmware, is only any good for controlling that quad, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah,
It's
you
not-
can't
you
use it with
An
No,
air
the old
unit,
system.
and you can't use a Vista.
No, absolutely not at the moment. No, it's OcuSync 3, which is their latest OcuSync technology, rather than Lightbridge. So this is why you get this incredible range out with even just 20 dBms. You know, it's so 30 dBms is 1 watt, isn't it? And we're sort of 10 dBs below that. So it's a significant, low power device. So yes, you can see the adjustments. Sorry, Deborah, you go.
Yeah, you can say adjust it through that little hole, I guess.
There's two. Yeah, there's two. I put down the Allen key somewhere. Can I find it? No.
Terrible. This is why I just love my Allen key screwdrivers, as I call them.
Yeah. So yeah, you can put them in, and then you can just rotate it. Just going to see if I can get that to go. Oh yeah, there's the bounce back. That one is. So let's just. You can take, and then it sticks itself in there. That's not really. This is also new. And then there's the other one on the other side. So we've got two, an F1 and an F2. And I should have read the instructions of which one was, which one did what. Yeah, I'll have a play with that though in my own time. One is the strength of the, yeah. Anyway, I'll come back on that one. It's not loosening at all on that. I'll fiddle with that in my own time.
Okay,
it's pretty boring stuff.
We can always get back next week anyway.
Yeah, so you can see you can adjust both of them through there, and then that will enable that stick to drop to the bottom like you would have a normal drone. And when you're in the full manual mode, it's just like flying a normal radio.
Do you want to answer that? Jeff is asking what DJI is this? DJI.
Yeah. So
it's the new DJI. Yeah, go on, Deborah. You talk.
Yeah, it's just the new DJI quadcopter, the freestyle one in theory.
Yes.
Are you calling it the freestyle one or the FPV? FPV, I imagine.
No, they call it the DJI FPV system, is what they call it.
Okay.
So that's their name for it.
Dave, who do we think?
Sorry, Deborah. Say again.
Who do we think this product? But because to me, because it contains two modes which are essentially the same as a Mavic, I would think of it as a sort of a platform that you fly around if you're used to flying the Mavic or any of their other camera drones, but it gives you a sort of a taster of what you might get out of an FPV system.
Yeah, I would say there's probably two main use categories. There's exactly that one you're describing. It's a great entry drone to the system.
Yeah.
If there wasn't crashing involved. If you go into manual mode with this and you haven't practiced the sort of Mavic entry route, then it's probably not a great beginner drone, maybe. So I love the DJI products anyway. I've got an Inspire, I've got a Spark, I've got a Mavic Air and a Mavic Air 2. And I just think they're great machines and love them from a point. Bye, William. Take care. And I think they're great for when I'm out doing my professional drone flying. So when I'm doing work. And then the challenge I've had when I'm doing work is that I then jump from, and I have to say, I use when I'm flying, because of the reliability of the DJI FPV system that we've known for the last year, which is.
You push your camera up a bit so we can see your face.
See me.
There you go.
Yeah. There you go. So I was keeping it on the drone, which is far more interesting than my face. Yes, but so when I'm flying then some dynamic stuff around cars or whatever else we're doing for the shoot, then I end up flipping over to my Apex, the digital Apex, with a GoPro on to do that work, because it's just more agile. So for me now, it'll be one aircraft on the shoot. And, you know, I hope that I don't crash it. I've not crashed any of my, you know, one of the things.
I think the fact that it flies for 20 minutes and it's got a 4K camera is, you know, I think
60 frames, yeah.
Exactly why what you're saying is definitely a good use case for it. I don't know.
And it's got Rocksteady as well in there as well. You know, the great software that was built for the Osmo, the Rocksteady software is in this as well, you know.
Yeah. I do think, I think it is aimed at novice users as well, though, isn't it? I mean, there certainly seems to be the sort of part of the marketing.
Yeah, I think that, you know, in sports mode, it's got a really, really cool cruise mode. So you can set the forward speed and it will fly it like it does on your cruise control on your car. And then when you put in a bank, either with your right stick or your left stick, it will actually coordinate the two controls. So you get both yaw and roll coordinated for you. So, you know, it is a really nice way for people who want to get into FPV to gain that FPV feeling in sports mode, but with all those safety features. And we didn't really talk through the remote, but the remote's got a pause button. So wherever you are, you can just hit pause and it'll stop in the air. So if you're thinking you're going to crash or do something else, you know, you can just go, right, reset.
I mean, that's obviously.
And even if it's upside down.
That's crazy.
Seem like it's aimed at novices.
Well, I'm a novice, aren't I, really? I mean, I've been doing it, I guess, 6 years, and, you know, you've got every day's a learning day, isn't it? So it's... No, but I would say you never learn enough, do you? But I think commercially it's a great tool. I think it allows you to do commercial shoot work with one drone. And I think that's really attractive. But I do think it's an entry drone to some degree until you crash. And then at that point, do we want to just talk about the DJI refresh?
Well, yeah, can do. I was just going to say that the other thing is the fact that the controller is only good for that quad. So if you buy into that as a novice and you break it, you're going to have to buy another one of those quads. Otherwise, you're stuck with a controller that currently only works with that quad. So in a way, that DJI getting you to hang on to you as a customer, if you like. And you're going to talk about the refresh thing where you can get a replacement. But I think you can only do that for two crashes. Is that right?
Yeah. So if we come back to the Mavic model first. So if we bought a Mavic, we'd have the same situation where we get a controller that's only good for the Mavic.
I mean, sorry. Well, just because obviously, you know, I'm super novice. What sort of price, if you can, you know, because obviously, like Deborah was saying, I mean, to me, it's just like excuse the terminology, but it's like it just looks to me it's like a very sexy Cinewhoop with a bit of go bang. So, but I mean, the price of the DJI is coming at what price is it coming at the moment?
So for the whole kit, the combo as they call it, which includes the controller, the goggles, and the aircraft and the battery. One battery, by the way, not the battery flying more pack, which is really what you need. Yep. It's 12 in the UK. It's $12.49. Now, so if you were to buy, but just sort of consider where you get.
Go on.
Yeah, so just to think about the components though. So if you take the component of the goggle on their own is $609. The controller's $139, and the drone works out at $659.
So you're talking $1,700 for everyone that's over the pond, which they all are.
Yeah, $1,700, but you wouldn't have to replace the goggles or the radio. And now you'd have to replace the drone if you had a bad crash. So let's look at what that would cost, and it isn't cheap. But then nothing that we do is cheap. Yes, William, that is my old Macintosh. Yeah, it's 1984 Mac, and I love it. One of my most prized possessions in the world.
Sorry, David, go on.
Yeah.
Right. So,
So
with that in mind, so $1,700 or 1,200 sterling. What's the so let's take so you're looking at about
So-
what £600 roughly for the new one.
to replace the drone, yeah. So if you
Yeah.
had to, if you, let's say you didn't take the DJI Care
No, let's
and you
not
crash this.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you want to talk about? Sorry, I
It's
didn't
basically
hear your
because
question.
because it's as like Deborah was saying about what type of quad it is. So I mean, if we just forget the goggles and forget the remote, so the actual quad itself, the drone, whatever you call it, let's just say it's like
659.
659. Now the Mavic, how much is the Mavic?
It's on its own is a similar kind of price. The
Really?
combo kit, the Fly More kit, yeah, for the Mavic Air 2 was around £1,200. So it's slightly more expensive, but in the same ballpark. And you've got the same problem. You know, you don't have any goggles. You don't actually have a screen to go with it. You have to use your smartphone. And so the drone itself, you could argue, is a more capable platform because it has a 3-axis gimbal on the camera. So you could argue it's a much better product for doing cinematic work. But yeah.
Sorry, Deborah.
Sorry, Deborah.
It's less likely to get damaged because it's a camera drone. It's a stable flying platform. You know,
well, I mean, no, I mean it's down to the user, isn't it? It's how the user flies it. You've got sport mode and you've got yes, which are protected modes. The manual mode you have to go into, don't you?
Yeah. This particular one though is more aimed at doing freestyle, which is
it's definitely aimed at encouraging people to go down that route for sure.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Absolutely. So yeah, so going back to the fact that you've got the radio and you bought into the idea that you don't really want to build. I mean, I hope it'll end up encouraging people to come in, they get a taste for this and go, actually, we want to build our own custom quads, which are far faster and far more crashable. And that's what you need when you're learning. You need to be able to crash a lot because that's the only way you make progress. You know, if you go to a field and only fly at 70 or 80%, you won't make enough progress to progress on to the next level. So for me, you know, this is a great quad. If you stay within your limits and all you want to do is a taster of FPV, this is fabulous. And then as you gain more skill over the period of time, then unlock it into the other modes. Unless you've got...
Sorry, David.
I hope that the firmware gets updated.
So go on, Deborah. Sorry, quickly.
Sorry.
No, go on.
I was going to say, I hope the firmware is updated to allow it to work with Vista and the older air unit from the V1.
You mean this? Yeah,
exactly, the controller. So that way you can fly it as a camera drone. You can get used to the idea of flying FPV gently using it, and then you can move on to a home-built aircraft, which is going to give you, you know, probably a more robust airframe, but also more fun possibly. It's difficult to say. I mean, I was obviously not flown it. It worries me that you might break it fairly quickly. And then what I hear about the DJI Care Package, where you can send it back and you can get a complete replacement. So you're saying, I think you told me today it was about 160 odd quid for that package?
Well, there's two packages. So there's the DJI Care and the DJI Care Plus. So if we do the DJI Care, that allows for 159 allows you one replacement in every year, and that one replacement, and the cover only lasts for a year, by the way, is 259. So you've got to add both those together. So that's 400 quid of a 650 quid device. So you know you're very much at the sort of 70% of the cost. If you get the 189 DJI Care, then you can get two replacements. The first one's at 249 and the second one is at 269. So definitely the Care Plus package, where if you think you're going to break it twice, definitely is the more effective version. Now, in a bad crash, you can definitely cause 100 quid's worth of damage, I understand, with a normal drone. But it is expensive. So that's why I don't think necessarily it's for all beginners, by the way, Deborah. That was where I was going with whilst I think it's a nice entry drone, for me, it's a replacement for a camera drone for those people who have got a bit of money, happy to spend a bit of money, but don't really want to get too involved in the building, but want to do a bit more flying than just the camera drone stuff. So they've had an FPV experience maybe by watching a video. They've had a camera drone for a while and they want to move on to the next step.
Well, I have to interrupt you there, Dave, because before I forget, because you know what my brain's like, I haven't got my pen and paper that I normally write things down. Now, I don't know about the States with the FAA, but the CAA in 2 years' time is saying that quads should be certificated. Now, now this DJI that's come out now, would that fall into that category that would be straight off the board as to say certificated and away you go, because that's going to hit a lot.
This isn't a certified quad today, and what we do know of the certification process is that there is no retrospective certification.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, to Deborah's point, it might not actually survive the 2 years anyway, so it might be a moot point. But and there's plenty of flying to be done between now and then.
That does scare me. I mean, you know, if we talk about the hobby as it is, you know, people that like myself. I mean, okay, you're building my next squad for me, but obviously I've built my little cine whoop and stuff and play about when I can. But I mean, what's going to happen to everybody's quads that they build? Do they almost have to take it to some kind of like MOT centre to get certificated, a bit like your cars?
You just can't. They'll be what they are, and you'll have to fly 150 meters away for any vehicle, vessel, person, or structure, and that will be it. But I mean, that's okay because we have some great flying fields. But if you think as me as a commercial operator, I've got 2 Mavics, an Inspire with a really expensive camera that I won't be able to fly within 150 meters. So my PFCO, I can carry on running that. So I have a PFCO and the GVC, but I'm still buggered. I'm going to have to replace all of my high-end quads. Now, I think for the hobbyist, it's not too much of a problem. I do think the A2 CFC has been an amazing opportunity in the UK. So with the A2 CFC, it's no longer about buildings, vehicles, or vessels. It's only about people. And then you've got 2 classes of people, uninvolved and involved. And then there's a weight category below 250. You can fly over people, unintentional overfly. Over 250, less than 500. You know, you have to be a bit more careful. And then when you're over 500 but below 4, or 2 in fact, you have to be 50 meters horizontally away. Now the GVC allows me to be 50 meters vertically, but if you think for the A2, that's got a vertical column that goes from the ground all the way to space. You're not allowed into that. So all of those privileges will go in 2 years. Wow. December. Yeah. So they, at that point, but their point was that those drones will be, you know, you'll be retiring them anyway.
Obsolete. There'll be some new tech.
They'll be obsolete, and there'll be some new tech. Okay, so, you know, what is V2 of this? I don't know. You know, I would hope it's going to be something really impressive. It definitely needs to be carbon.
I mean, you've got the props on there. I mean, that does look really, really sexy. I mean, you know, I tell you what, that does remind me. I mean, everyone that's watched one of the Terminators, I can't remember which one it is, but it's the actual one that you see all the drones. You know, when it gets switched online. Skynet turns online. I think they've got that kind of idea from there actually. So I would expect drones to look like Skynet drones. You know, in within a couple of years at least. I
imagine they could probably crush a few skulls if you flew them into someone.
I don't know about this at 80 miles an hour. Can you imagine hitting? Oh wow! If that hit your head at 80 miles an hour, that would leave a dent, wouldn't it?
But the thing to remember is that with the battery and the camera, the Stingy is heavier than the DJI drone.
Wow.
Heavier. Now, there isn't much difference between the steel and the DJI. The 70 grams in the other direction for that. So, you know, a lot of people are saying this is heavy, but, you know, you need to take into the equation even when you're flying these, you have a high quality camera on here, which is, you know, maybe an Osmo, maybe a GoPro, maybe a Foxeer box, whatever your choice, plus a 6S battery. And then maybe if we went to a higher size battery, and I think one of the things to try is to take the battery capacity up to 2000 milliampere hours on our existing quads, because I haven't tried that. I know Paul hasn't he, Deborah? And he gets substantially 12-15 minute flights out of his iFlight drone.
Different battery technology though. Wasn't he using
sorry.
those 18?
That will move on, Deborah.
No. Yeah, so I'm talking about on this one, putting a 2,000 milliampere hour battery on this rather than the 1,300 that I have today,
Yeah, yeah.
and just
But
seeing what the
when you
flight time would be like.
I got a feeling that he was using a stack of 18650 cells.
Yeah, which is slightly. I mean, I know he had those, but I thought he had some big 2,000. Well, that's a question to ask him anyway, isn't it? So I'm going to try it with a bit larger pack size on the traditional drones as well, and see if that gives longer flight time.
Sorry to cut across you. At the end of the day, if the DJI quad is around about the same weight as a 6S steel Alien, not Alien, Apex rather.
Yeah, or a Stingy V2, which is the one that is closest to. Yeah,
and they're both the same kind of weight, but the battery is much bigger, but it appears to be a lower current capability, in terms of sort of what it can shove out to the motors, and yet it makes you think, well, how do they do it? How do they get that quad to perform as well as the reports are coming back, especially what you're saying earlier, that it's fast, that it lasts for 20 minutes. How are they managing to do that? Because they're similar sort of size as well.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
Something must give. There must be something in it that is.
Well, you can't change the laws of physics, can you? And it's about motor diameters, isn't it? And the prop pitch. And we know the thing that went with 6S for me, we're generally drawing lower current. I need to be careful how I'm saying these words, lower current. And that generally means that the batteries, for me, have lasted a lot longer. With my 4S batteries, when I was drawing very high currents, I've got longer flight times by going to 6S, and I've managed to maintain my batteries for much longer. And I think,
sorry to hinder, because obviously we are kind of running out of time this evening. But
we need to close, don't we?
The USFFA remote ID is probably a firmware upgrade on this. It goes into effect here in 2 years. Wow. Well, our remote ID is already in effect.
No, we haven't got remote ID yet, Chris.
No.
We're still talking about it. It's not.
Oh, right. I thought it was passed over here.
No.
There you go. I know nothing. This is why I got David and Deborah here, because in my idea, that they are the best, and they are quadaholics. Now we could go on all night long chatting about this, and sort of Deborah's views and David's views, and me in the middle, which I understand both of them. I love the look of this quad. If you said to me, if you gave me 1,200 quid tomorrow and said go and buy yourself, I'd buy myself probably an F4 plane. F4 Phantom, which I haven't got in the hang yet. But if you said I've got to buy a quad, I would buy one. Yes, I would. I mean, I think it's just aesthetically pleasing to look at. I mean, like Deborah as well and David, we're sci-fi fans. To me, I like the little. I mean, can you fly it with the protector on as well? That's like.
No, not this. No, the gimbal protector.
That's a shame, because it looks like RoboCop with props.
Just need the gun on it now, don't you? The laser.
Well, who knows? Everyone will start 3D printing, so you got a couple of guns on there and bits and pieces. Attach it to the camera. But I like it. I mean, I wouldn't personally fly it, because it'd be in bits. But then again,
Well, in manual mode, you could do normal mode, because it's just like flying a Mavic, and they're very, very simple.
Right.
You operate them, you don't fly them. You tell it where you want it to go, and it flies between where you are and where you want it to go. And there's a button for it to come home, so it should be fine. But yeah, going back, I think it was William that was talking about so one of the things we forgot to mention earlier is the ADS-B broadcast that this is capable. So this will warn you of incoming aircraft. It doesn't transmit, it receives. It's a receiver only, but it's a real-time ADS-B receiver in this. That allows you to understand aircraft coming in, and you get a display in your goggle of where the aircraft is. So that's a really useful thing. But the bit we didn't talk about, because I haven't got power on, Chris, for you, which is LEDs, and all of these little lighter panels that you can see on the drone are LED panels.
Oh, I'm sold. That's all you needed to say.
And at the front
if you'd have said that in the beginning, David, I would have said it's 1,200 quid.
Yeah. So it's So
I love LED.
it does look like a motorbike. When you go up the frame just sort of at the side. I know I must stop, but
That's okay.
you can see the frame just looks like a motorcycle frame.
Does.
There's definitely an awful lot of thought and engineering gone into this. You know, we
It's,
talked
it's
about
a
the
very sexy
dihedral. We talked about the
design. I
motor
mean,
counting.
I give it to DJI. I mean, you know, as I say, I'm not sort of like the a quad pilot. I'm just a beginner and want to be quad pilot. But yeah, I'm very. I mean, as you see, a lot of my aircraft are very. Something needs to aesthetically please me, you know. And that does, and that really, really does. But listen, we're going to have to hold it there. I'm going to leave this with me, a little bubble, and the two people. It's to say, there's one more question from William, and then we really must go. Does David or Deborah fly any RC planes? Yes, they do. Yes, they both fly. They're both fixed wing pilots as well, but obviously they do more quad. In fact, David was a heli pilot in the beginning. Might be a right time to swap out my Mavic Air.
I think so, Warbird. Well, I think you don't need to swap. You know, you just keep it in the stable, don't you? Keep it in the RC hangar or Dad's RC hangar, and
stick it in my
just
hangar.
collect more. Yeah.
This is it. I mean, you know, you always upgrade. There's always something to upgrade, and if you've got a few dollars or a few pounds to spend, then why not? You know, sort of life is too short, unfortunately. And you know, if you can enjoy yourself. Why not? Because unfortunately, like a lot of friends or whatever, you know, sort of tomorrow is too late. So, but it's as I say. I mean, we've been rabbiting on now for over an hour and a half, which is fantastic. Now we have seen the Stingy 2 build. Cue David to show the Stingy 2, please. This is obviously this is all 3D printed. Oh, look at that, lovely! Look at this, lovely. More. You want more? Yes, want more. We're back next week. And look at this. This is the Stingy 2 build that we've been building. David has built it. We are going to do the beta flight for this next week. And then after done the beta flight with that, we've got another quad and we've got giveaway. We've got frames, motors, 3D printed parts, everything. Stick with this Saturday Night Live with the Quadaholics, which are David and Deborah, because it's going to get real fun and some lovely giveaways, and you'll probably end up with a full quad anyway. So, but next week, beta flight. That's going to be really, really interesting because I know my way, like beta flight, like closing my eyes and trying to feel in the dark. So that's going to be really, really interesting. Also, this will give David a chance because he's been waiting since Wednesday to get his hands in that box for the DJI. So he's going to spend some special moments, a bit like I did with my Spitfire, which is the Supermarine Spitfire, not the submarine. There he goes. He's already on. He's going to have his special 5 minutes with that later on. I can trust you that. And unfortunately, as I say, we are still grounded in the UK till about the 8th of April. So a few weeks left. So I don't think you can fly that in the garden because it's not under 250 grams. So we're going to have to wait to see all these. But
no, it's not under 500 either, which I'd have got away with. It's in the A2 rather than the A1 category. So I am buggered. 50 meters horizontal.
So unless he flies it in his room, we're not going to get much feedback on how that flies. But as I say, stick around because obviously after all this stuff is finished, you know, you'll be seeing a lot of maidens from myself, of course. And we're going to be seeing flying quads at the field as well. We're going to bring all that in. It's going to be a great, great thing. So this is just a warm up of things to come. But listen, everybody. Thanks for everyone that popped on this evening. I know we didn't have a big number turn out this evening, but that's fine. Hopefully this will grow, and there'll be so many people we won't know what to bring up the chat. But all the regulars, I really appreciate you popping by. So listen, thank you to David and thank you to Deborah for being here as special guests of the Quadaholics, which they are the Quadaholics. I'm the guest. I'm just listening in. But so don't forget, next week, beta flight for the Stingy build, and David will be able to give us a bit more insight on the on the new DJI. I'm sure Deborah will be able to come back at him and say, you know, what did you buy? It's a silly whoop with sexy clothing. Come on. So no, but anyway, listen, everyone.
It looks
safe.
good.
Yeah, it does. It's sexy. I'm liking it. I mean, it's got LEDs. Come on, I'm sold. Mind you, F4 Phantom. I don't know. There we go. So don't forget, we're back next week on next Friday with a Friday thing with another unboxing from a plane all the way from the US of A. There's a few reasons that I like it, but I'll give you a clue. It's from Banana Hobby. which Banana Hobby, that's it, yeah, that's the one. And it's all the way from, there's none in this country, so I'm probably got the only one in this country. So that'll be next Friday, and of course we're back next Saturday with the Saturday Night Live with the Quadaholics. So until then, be safe, keep safe, and most of all, have a great time now. Okay, see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye all.
Bye.
Bye.